Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Berlin. I do a variety of videos, and if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back.
Hey, yeah, guys, we are here for a special edition of Simply Verlin. It's called LVN Living. I'm your host, Kirk, and I have with me an ambitious young woman who is serving her community as a nurse, as well as fulfilling the roles of mother, wife, and budding entrepreneur. Let's welcome my guest, Verlin.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Today we're going to get into, you've been a LVN for the last 2.5 years. I've watched your journey, I've watched you grow, and I just wanted to ask you a couple questions about, how it's been going, and how you look back on some of the choices you made when it comes to pursuing this career.
Okay, sounds good.
Down for it?
Down for it.
All right. So again, it's been about 2.5 years. I can remember when you first got started, and it had probably been about 10 years for you since you graduated high school. What was it like, getting back into the classroom?
Getting back into the classroom after being out of school for so long was kind of hard. One of the most challenging things that I think I faced was the age difference with the kids, I call them, that were in my class. A lot of them were like fresh out of high school, did not have much life experiences. And so they were going into nursing fresh out of there. For me, I had already been in the military, had my life going, and changing careers. Education-wise and like the whole academic part, it wasn't hard. It was challenging, but it wasn't hard. I just had to readjust and kind of find my learning habits to kind of just get it going. But the most challenging part was the age group. They were small.
And they were small. Well, I don't think education is easy to get back to at any age. And I mean, a lot of us just keep going right out of high school. So, that's always a challenge. And you're about to do it again, so it's going to be interesting. So you said that the biggest challenge was the age group, but I do remember we had a major argument when you were in nursing school, and you felt like I stopped supporting your pursuit of becoming an LVN. How did that affect you at that time trying to complete this program?
I think for me, what it was more about was we already had like a lot going on, like as a mom and as a wife, still having to take care of home. I needed that full support. We had just had Ava, and so having a very little one and then one that was in middle school and still having to come home and do everything else, I needed that support. And I also needed that support overall as an understanding husband to be like, my wife is pursuing her goals. This is a dream that she's always wanted to do. And yeah, you wasn't doing it in the beginning until you kind of realize that it all plays into the end goal for me.
And I mean, that's a challenging thing. Like when any of us, you or I, or, the kids go to pursue something, we have to sacrifice a bit and make the changes necessary. And I think at that time it wasn't so much that I didn't support you, it's that I could see how great you were and how great you could be, and it seemed like you were having challenges realizing just how good you were doing, and that was frustrating.
And I think you're right, because as a mom, you want to make sure you're there and you're present. Also, as a wife, you want to make sure you're coming home and doing everything that you're supposed to do. And I doubted myself a lot of times. A lot of times I felt like I wasn't going to make it through the program. And I needed him, I needed you to really push me and not just know that I was going to do it, but remind me and be like, hey, be that voice in my head that was like, you got this.
Fair. But then, okay, so you graduated, never missed a day of class.
Never missed a day. I graduated with perfect attendance.
You were chosen as the student of the class.
I was.
But you waited 6 months, I think, or so to take your NCLEX. Why did you wait so long?
I waited that long because life was lifing. And I think for me, mentally and emotionally, there was so much going on that I needed to kind of take a break. I also doubted myself a lot in terms of, could I really pass the NCLEX? Like, I know that I graduated from LVN school. I know that I made the grades, but the NCLEX was like this big scary thing. And I felt like everything else that was going wrong in my life was happening. And how could I sit there and take the NCLEX? And I kept pushing the date back and back and back. Like, I would keep rescheduling because I kept feeling like I wasn't ready. Until one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go take it. And of course I passed. But it was a fear. It was like this big obstacle that I didn't know if I was ready for.
So when you took it, was it like as hard as you had built it up to be in your mind?
It was hard, but I felt like I knew what I knew. I feel like I was prepared for it. Although the questions were like challenging, there were some things that I really had to like process of elimination. But I did walk out of there like, I know what I know. Although I felt like I failed, but I still like, I felt prepared. I felt like I know what I know, and I did not get to that point by a fluke.
Yeah, well, you passed.
I passed.
All right, so, after you passed the NCLEX, which, I was grateful that you passed and you were ready to enter like the workforce. How did you feel about the job opportunities and the pay for LVNs at the time and now generally? Like, is it what you expected?
So before I actually passed my NCLEX or took my NCLEX, I would say, I did work a little bit as a GVN, which is like a graduated vocational nurse. And at that time, the pay wasn't great. Like it wasn't like a big, oh my goodness, nurse pay. And of course, I understood that I did not have my NCLEX yet. But once I got my NCLEX, my first LVN position, I felt like I got a decent offer. I was making over $60,000 as a graduate nurse. I felt like I got a good offer. But that was also because I was working in like a substance abuse facility and addiction, and it was, how do you say, like state funded. But as I moved around, I realized like the pay and the offers weren't like great. At times, I did realize like they classed LVNs in the same pay rate as a certified medical assistant. And so the pay was very similar. However, like job searching, you do see like home health offers more, correction nursing offers more, and nursing homes. But that's just the areas that I didn't really want to work.
Okay. And you held many positions even in this short time. because you've been trying to find your niche, your field, your passion in nursing. Even though nursing is a passion, like what is that field that you're passionate? Because I thought coming out of school, you were like a trained specialist, you know, but it's like really like you're trained in everything but nothing. You gotta nursing is this wide field where you gotta figure out, which specialty you want to pursue um, as your career. So tell me about your experience in the different fields that you've worked in so far.
So when I worked as a GVN, I initially worked in peds. It was like a urgent care
Peds, which is
pediatrics.
okay.
And it was like a urgent care, and it was not for me. I knew that I love kids, but working in that field wasn't for me, especially with Dr. Google and having, the parents coming in and feeling like they knew what was going on with their kid before they even brought them in. Then I moved on to substance abuse, which was like an inpatient rehab facility, and I loved that. I did substance abuse in the military, so doing substance abuse as a nurse just felt right. But I quickly realized that it wasn't happy nursing because they didn't want to see us. They didn't want to be there. And so it wasn't as pleasant as I thought it was going to be, although I enjoyed helping those patients.
Yeah.
Then I moved on, and then I went into oncology, and that was interesting. It has been interesting working in that field, but as I move around, and as you stated, I'm about to start school again. I just want to find that true place where I can make that difference. Oncology is great as well, but it's also not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it does take a toll on you when you start to see a lot of debt, a lot of sadness. And so I'm trying to find my area still. I'm still kind of a baby nurse.
Yeah.
2 years into it, 2.5. So I'm getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much nurses have had that experience where they're like kind of moving from field to field. It seems like, a lot do kind of just say, okay, well, I'm in an emergency room and they work emergency or, like you said, home health or whatever. But I mean, you've had a ton of different experiences. So which one do you say, you like the most so far?
Which one would I say? Um, Although it wasn't happy nursing, I would say when I worked in substance abuse,
Yeah.
I feel like I worked with vets,
Mm-hmm.
and so seeing them on the flip side, from seeing them when they were like soldiers and then having to work with them in the rehab facility and hearing like their stories, and everybody have a story, and everybody, they got there for a reason. I do feel like that was probably my most enjoyable, but also my most unenjoyable job,
Mm-hmm.
because it had a lot of good days, but a lot of bad days too.
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of days where you brought up some tough stories, and it was hard for you to leave the job at the job. Um, yeah, so it wasn't like a, hey, I came home and I had a bad day kind of thing. It was really like I came home and had somebody else had a really bad day. Um, so I do remember that as well. So we talked about, you know, you possibly doing the RN program when you started all this, and you chose the LVN program because it kind of just fit more where we were at the time. But you talked about going back to do the RN program. Right now, that's not the case, right?
No.
So what is your next goal of educationally, and why did you choose to take the route that you're taking?
Um, so for me, I initially said, like I was gonna go the LVN to RN route. Just because like you always hear, you know, the best thing to do is be a RN. Don't waste your time being an LVN, be a RN, be a RN. And so because of where we were in life and me wanting to get into nursing sooner than later, I went through the LVN route. But as time moved on, and I got more into nursing, I did realize that I do want to be more on the management side of healthcare. I have seen a lot of things that need work, and I bring a lot of that home. Like I do like feel like care could be a little better. Patients could be treated a little bit better and managed a little bit better. And so for me, right now, I am pursuing my degree in healthcare management. I'm still going to continue to be a nurse. I'm still going to continue to provide care. But I do want to get that degree in healthcare management because I do want to be on that flip side of making sure that the community and the patients and everybody is getting like good care.
Mm-hmm.
Is becoming an RN fully out the picture for me? Not yet, but I do know like in our current situation, and we have high school kids and we have toddler and we have like we have kids that they need us
Mm-hmm.
and you need me, and I still need to make sure that I'm pouring into me, that going the RN route is not what I want to do right now, but healthcare management for sure. That's what I'm going back to school for, and I'm excited for that because I can still become an RN later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to oversee the care and make sure that patients are being treated fairly.
That's admirable, and I understand, you know what I mean? And we talked about the change and the pivot and the switch, and we've gone back and forth about it. So, I mean, it's always been something we've had to discuss and figure out what's the best next move. So we about to go back to school for another, what, 2, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know what I'm saying? We're going to do this again maybe in another 2, 3 years and look at that decision and how that worked out and everything. But as you look back on this initial decision to become an LVN and just get into nursing in general, how do you look back on that decision? I mean, do you regret it? Do you feel like this is that thing for you? How do you look back on that decision?
I don't regret it. I don't regret becoming an LVN, because it gave me, and it still gives me, the opportunity to provide care. And anybody that knows me know that I have a very kind heart. And taking care of people and taking care of everybody is truly like, that's me. I'm very compassionate. So I feel like becoming an LVN was a right decision for me
Mm-hmm.
because it gave me more insight in terms of what is really going on in the healthcare field. When I was in the military and I did substance abuse, like I was a program coordinator. And so having the opportunity to kind of give trainings, I did briefings and provide that overall, I guess, like management to the program. And the soldiers felt good. I wasn't just like doing whatever. Like I was making sure that I was reaching out. I was that person that would go to my soldiers' home, meet with them outside, meet with them wherever they needed me to, because I wanted to make sure that they got what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So becoming an LVN gave me a better insight into like the healthcare part of it. But it also showed me more that I want to make sure like I'm I'm there to manage too. I want to have those conversations. I want to sit in those meetings. I want to bring my point of view to the table. I want to help better care. And so being in healthcare management or getting my degree in healthcare management, I can still be a nurse, but I can just be able to sit in those rooms and have those conversations about how can we make patients' experience better.
Yeah. I thought I probably should have asked this earlier. What's like one patient care story that sticks with you or that you feel was most rewarding um, in your career so far?
Which one was most rewarding? I think I have so many different areas where like the little things made me feel rewarded. Um, but in oncology, you have to go above and beyond. And at times I would be frustrated because these patients needed meds approved and they weren't getting answers. Or I would feel like patients are being neglected. One of the most rewarding ones I've had is me having to go above and beyond and pretty much reporting a doctor for not answering the patient's calls, not answering the family's calls. And I pushed that complaint as far as I can push it until they got an answer. And when I had that family reach back out and say, thank you, you're the only person that would listen to us. Just that thank you was very rewarding. I think nobody else wanted to kind of step on the doctor toes. And I was like, well, I'm going to mash on them at this point because I kept calling and I kept reaching out and he was not responding, and so was the family. And so just seeing that, again, going above and beyond I was able to kind of help them get answers. That was, that was, that felt good. I came home and I wasn't complaining about it not being done. I was able to be like, hey, we got answers.
You did your job.
I did my job.
All right. Well, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything else that you want to add about being an LVN or your journey or, something that may help somebody else thinking about pursuing becoming an LVN?
Sure. I would say if you're out there and you want to become an LVN, do what's best for you. Everybody have their own story. Everybody have their own journey. And you just have to do what works best for you and yours. For me, I feel like I've always known in my heart that I wanted to become a nurse. And I knew for me that I wanted to get in the door the fastest way I could. And so becoming an LVN worked for me. Do I regret it? I do not. Do I feel like the pay sometimes will be a little crappy? I do, because we could be, making a little bit more. But knowing that I want to be in those rooms, having those conversations about providing better care, becoming an LVN did not put me in a bad spot. I can actually come to the table and be like, I was on the floor. I see what's going on. So if anybody out there wants to become an LVN, I'm like, go for it. But just have your own plan, have your own journey. Don't let people talk you out of what you want to do, where you want to be. You're going to need the support. You're you have to understand that scope of practice for an LVN and a scope of practice for an RN is different. And at times you may be frustrated because it's like, damn, I'm a nurse, why am I doing this? But once you understand where you want to be, I think becoming an LVN, if that's in your plan, it will work out. So that's just my take on it. It's been 2.5 years. I don't regret it. I am proud to be an LVN. Nobody can make me feel bad about becoming an LVN because I know how hard it was for me. I know how hard it was for us. Late nights, you having to do everything for the kids, me having to sacrifice everything just to show up to school. So I wear that LVN title with proud. I'm proud. I'm glad. So.
And I'm proud of you.
Thank
and
you.
I thank you for your service, both military and as a first responder. You're doing an awesome job. And this concludes our special edition of Simply Berlin called LVN Living. And I had an awesome guest today. And go ahead, babe. Go ahead and wrap up your vlog.
Oh, thank you so much. So if you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, share. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you want me to ask, or I would say if you want KIRK to ask me, go ahead and comment that below. Don't forget to subscribe, you guys, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Peace.